All right, let's get some line on this fishing reel right here. We're gonna put some 10-pound test line on this reel. This is a spinning reel and a spinning rod. So here's a snap right here. I have it attached to the side of the guide. This is a guide. I don't attach the snap to the guide part because that could scratch the guide. I'm going to flip the anti-reverse switch. That allowed that reel to go backwards because I need a little bit of line here to loosen up that snap. Let's see if I can pull it off there. There we go. I like this type of snap with that hook there on the end because when I secure the snap, it feels secure to me. When I've got a $5 lure on the end there, or more money than that nowadays, some of them, I like to feel quite secure about that snap. And these are lightweight, nice snaps. I'm going to snip it off the line. I use a toenail cutter to cut my line. Snip. Now the snap is free. I'll set it here and forget where I put it. Pretty soon I'll wonder where I put it. Now I'm going to strip the line off from here. So I'm opening the bail like that, and I'm going to strip line off. I don't know if I have the regular 10-pound test all the way to the base of this spool, or if I have a backing on there of some kind of a line just to fill it a little bit and then top it off with my 10-pound test line. But we'll start stripping line off and see what happens. If I find another line on there like a backing, then I'll stop wherever that knot is. It's been on here all winter, so it's kind of twisty. The line coils. It'll often coil around your rod. See that? It just coils around like crazy. I gotta get this to where I can do it with two hands, otherwise we'll be here forever. So I'm pushing the rod away from me so that I can pull the line off with two hands here. Now I can check the reel, see if I see a knot anywhere on the spool. I do not see a knot. So my guess is I have the same line all the way to the base of the spool, and I'll need to pull all the line off the spool. Now as I do this, since I'm spinning it around here, I'm running that line through my fingers just in case I feel a knot go through. But I think I just reached the end of the spool. Yep. You can see that I have no more line on the spool. All I have is a slip knot holding that line on. So if I can, I'm going to loosen that slip knot, or I'm going to cut the slip knot. There's where the slip knot is. I'm pulling that, trying to loosen the slip knot. And I did. So now I just slipped the loop that was around the reel out of there, and I can pull it right through, off the reel and through the guides. There we are, free of line. We stripped all the line off that reel. There is no line on the reel whatsoever. Here we have a package of new line. What I stripped off is green, low visibility line. Not sure if you can tell that, but it's a low vis green is what they'd call low visibility green line. I like that line for low visibility. But that line came on a huge spool, and I had it for a few years, and it started to coil, be quite springy. So it tended to coil off my reel spool and make messes frequently. Now we have a new package of line, Trilene XL, extra limp. That's what that stands for. It gives good castability. And I don't fish in situations where I'm around rocks and tree stumps a lot where the line could get nicked on objects such as that. I'm just mostly fishing areas where there are weeds and the weeds don't nick the line. So I love the extra limp XL. Trilene is my favorite line for a monofilament, and this is a monofilament. There it is. We'll have to get it off the spool. There's a piece of tape there. It's a re-stickable kind of tape usually, so when I have line left on here after spooling my reel, I just take this and stick it right over the end so that holds the line on the spool. Now I need to string it through the rod. I'll lay that spool down and string it through the guides. That's the last guide. So now I will make a slip knot. First I'll open the bail. Open the bail, and I'll make a slip knot and attach it to the reel. If I forgot and left that bail closed like that and then attached it to the reel, I wouldn't be able to wind the line onto the reel. And then you'd want to kick yourself, maybe say a few bad words, but all you'd have to do is loosen this and take the spool off. That can be loosened all the way. The spool could come off, and then I could open up my bail and attach the spool again. And then would be in a situation where we could actually wind in the line. But I remembered, so I opened up the bail, and while I was talking to you, all my line went through the guides again. So maybe some bad words would be appropriate, but it's okay. We'll just do it again. I'm going to tie a slip knot. Actually, I might do a double slip knot since it's monofilament fishing line. I just feel like that might be a little bit more secure to do a double slip knot. I probably should put it on the reel and tighten it up, but since we're all doing this together and you guys are watching, I'm going to snip that tag end right now. I snipped it fairly close. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter yet. I don't want to damage the knot. There we go. I didn't leave much tag end because I don't want it getting caught. I don't want my line catching on the knot while it's coming off the spool. Shouldn't be a big problem since I don't have any backing on this reel. I'm going to put enough line on it that it will cover that knot, and it shouldn't affect my casting. Now I held on to one end of that where it goes around the spool, and then I pulled on this end so that it tightened that knot right down to the spool there. Click the bail over. And now I can begin winding the line onto the reel. See how I run it through my thumb and forefinger? That keeps a little bit of tension on the line. That's a good thing. We need tension on the line. When I set the rod down to the spool, that line kind of coils up onto itself. That tells me that the spool is probably upside down for this reel. So I flip it over. I want to be sure to put the line on in a manner that it does not coil and spring when it comes off the reel. So let's see if this works. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did 10 winds. Now I'm dropping that line down again. And it seems the coils seem to lie down fairly flat onto each other. It's not springing over and making big loops and twists. So another way you can look is look at the line as it's between the guides. It'll kind of look like that. If these little coils were closer together and it was like this, more bunched up, that would be a sign that the line is going on twisted. So this looks really good. When I set the rod tip down to the spool, the coils just coil right around just as if they were on the spool that way. And the other way, it was pretty obvious that we were putting the line on twisted. I'm really confident that I'm not putting the line on twisted in this manner. I do not need to flip that spool over again. And you have to check that with every reel, because every reel is a little bit different. And you can't trust that, okay, I need the label downward in order to have the line come off untwisted. No, that's not necessarily true. Just got to check it every time you do the line, that every reel that you add line to. We will fill the spool on the reel up to about 1/8 of an inch from the end or the edge of the spool. See if I can show you. Like this edge right here, that edge, I'm going to go in 1/8 of an inch. When the line gets up to about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, then I will stop. It makes me want to go fishing, get my stuff ready like this. Gets my blood going again to get out and do some fishing. I listen while I wind. If I hear any funny squeaks or noises, I might have to lubricate the reel at wherever it is that's causing that problem. Sounds pretty quiet and normal. That's good. It's important not to put too little line on a spool, because then there's resistance as the line leaves the spool and you can't cast quite as far as if you put the proper amount of line on. But if you put too much line on the spool, as soon as you open up the bail like this to cast, the line will just coil right off your spool and you'll have a mess of line wanting to tangle itself up. So we don't want that either. So there's a delicate balance. And I think we've almost reached that balance. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to stop right here, I think. It looks pretty good to me. Okay, it's time to add our snap. I'm snipping the line. Now we can add the snap. The snap is a good way to go, because with a snap I can change lures quickly. And we're all set. I'm going to reattach this to the side of the guide. Many rods will have a loop attached to the rod right here for the hook or the snap to attach, and that's convenient. But this one doesn't, so I just attached it to the side of the guide. That works just fine. I heard something there that I didn't like, but I guess it's okay. I thought I heard line, where line sometimes gets looped here on the side, and then it ends up underneath that spool, and you gotta loosen that spool, pull it off, and get that line off the spindle or vertical piece that this sits on. Get it unwound and out of there and reattach the spool. Good thing to remember, to watch for that, so you don't keep winding. Because the line isn't tight right now, leaving the reel, I'm getting it between my thumb and forefinger again, and I put my hand ahead of the reel a ways, and then I wind it until the line tightens so that the line is tight. Now I didn't make it so that the rod is bent. Can you see the rod, how it's bending? That's too tight. I'm releasing that so it's straight. The rod is straight. Then I'll do the anti-reverse mechanism. Click. And that makes it so that the reel handle cannot go backwards. So this rod and reel are ready for fishing right now. I would have to release that again for fishing unless I use a drag. The drag is, right here is the drag. But as you keep turning that, then that spool would come totally off. So I always tighten the drags down totally, and then I let the reel handle go backwards while I'm landing a fish. If the fish decides to make a run, then I just let that reel handle go backwards, but I let it hit the palm of my hand while it's doing that, or I keep my hand on it so that the line does not get twisted. Because if I let go of that reel handle and that fish is going fast away from me and then stops and my reel handle keeps going and the fish has stopped peeling out line, then I'm going to have a tangle, because the reel handle keeps going and lets out more line while the fish is stopped, and that line tangles onto itself or onto the reel or whatever. That can be a problem when you're fighting the fish of a lifetime or even a smaller fish. We don't want problems while we're fighting a fish, while we're landing a fish. So that's why I do that, and I'm all set. I'm going to go do another one. Thanks so much for watching.